In today's video, I will teach you step by step how to use the OBS Studio and also share with you my personal experiences and some real-life tips along the way. By the end of the video, you should be able to know how to use OBS easily, not be afraid of OBS, and add this wonderful app to your workflow or production. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So first of all, what is OBS Studio? OBS Studio, short for Open Broadcaster Software Studio, is a free and open source software for video recording and live streaming. It is widely used by content creators, gamers, and professionals to create high-quality videos for platforms like Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, and more. OBS Studio allows users to capture and mix multiple sources, which I will talk about in a tutorial, such as webcams, desktop screens, images, text, and more, to create dynamic scenes for their live streams or recordings. It offers a range of features and customization options to meet the different needs of different users, like yourself and myself. To use OBS Studio, you will first need to download the app. So go to obsproject.com and you can see that there are different downloads for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Select your operating software to download and install it on your computer. Once you have installed the app, open OBS Studio and it brings you to this interface. So this is the interface that you're going to see when you go into your app for the first time. Do not be overwhelmed by the interface. Actually, all you need to know are the 5 dots at the bottom: scenes, sources, audio mixer, scene transitions, and controls. So what are scenes? Okay, scenes in OBS Studios are essentially different layouts or setups that you can switch between while live streaming or recording. Each scene can contain various sources such as audio, video, images, text, etc. So you have your sources on your right here. So this allows you to create different scenes for different purposes or segments of your stream, making it easier to switch between them seamlessly during your broadcast. And then sources in OBS Studios are the individual elements that make up your scene, such as your webcam feed, game capture, images, text overlays, browser windows, and more. You can add multiple sources to a single scene to customize the appearance of your stream or recording. Sources can be rearranged, resized, and customized to create the desired layout for your content. We'll come to the scenes and sources later on, but first of all, I would like to show you there's an option in OBS that allows you to do a quick start optimization. So go to Tools and click on Auto Configuration Wizard. So here you can see that OBS can optimize your setup for streaming, recording, or just using the virtual camera. So if you're using it for streaming and not recording, you can select this option, and if you're using it for recording, you can select this option. And do note that this can be run anytime by going back to the Tools and Auto Configuration Wizard menu. So for today, we're just going to do for recording, so I'm going to select the second option. Click on Next. So the base canvas resolution, what is the base canvas? The base canvas is this black box that you see right here, and that is where you input your sources onto it. So right now, it's set to be 1080p. I usually leave it as 1080p for both recording and live streaming because for YouTube, I will usually upload it to be 1080p, and then even for live streaming, we usually stream it at 1080p. For FPS, which is frames per second, you have the option to either leave it as 30 or 60, or you have the option to let the computer decide. If it's possible, that means your laptop settings, your computer settings can fit 60, they will do 60. For myself, I like to do 60 because 60 frames per second gives a slightly sharper image than 30 seconds. So I will leave it as the first option. Click on Next. So right now, the Auto Configuration Wizard will test your computer to see which is the best settings, and then they will advise you on that. So once it's done, you can see that the program has determined that these estimated settings are the most ideal for you. So I will just click on Apply Settings. Okay, so now we have got our settings optimized by OBS. Let's head on to how to create a scene in OBS. We can see that the name scene has been default in OBS. So if you right click on it, you have the option of adding a new scene, duplicate a new scene, rename or remove a scene. So for this, we will rename the scene to video recording. Do take note that it is actually a very good practice to name it as accurately as possible instead of naming it scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, because as you start to build more scenes and you go to your live stream or video capturing, it will look a bit messy and is a bit confusing because you do not know which scene represents which particular live stream that you want to do. So for this first example, we will just name it as video recording. So now we can add a source to this video recording. So what source do we need? As we click on the plus button, you can see that there are many options here. You can have audio capture, you can have color source, display capture, you can input an image, you can input a media source, etc. But for this, we're just going to click on video capture device. Why is this so? Because right now we're going to do a video recording, right? So we need to capture what is being seen on the blank canvas, right? So I'm going to name it as laptop camera and I'm going to click on OK. So I'm going to click on this and you can see that I'm appearing on the blank canvas right now. So click on OK. So you can see that this is not actually resized correctly to the blank canvas. So how do you resize this? Click on the bottom square here and then drag it to become full screen. Now you can see that the video is being captured correctly. So what we need to do next is to make sure that there is sound coming in. So how do we do that? See, under audio mixer here, you can see that under mic, there's actually decibels that's moving. The bar is moving, green bar, right? So this shows that audio is capturing nicely from my onboard microphone from my laptop. So if you have an external USB microphone that is attached to your computer, you can actually select the three dots here and then click on properties to select your microphone. But since we are just using the onboard MacBook Air microphone, we're just going to leave it as default. Okay, one thing to note here, you can see that for audio is always a good rule of thumb that the audio is between -6 to -12 decibels, right? So right now you can see that it's nicely placed between -6 to -12. However, if you find that it is too loud, you can actually lower this limit here. So this is the limiter. So I can push it down, and then once I have decided that this is going to be the limit for my microphone, I can click on lock volume, and then I will not be able to change whatever the settings is for the microphone. Okay, so we're just going to keep it as default here. So right now we have the video capture nicely captured under the sources, and then under audio mixer, sound is coming in nicely. So next up, we just have to do recording, right? So click on start recording here to go ahead to record. But wait a minute, before you start recording, you need to know where your files are being recorded to, right? So click on settings, output, and then you can see that your recording path is being recorded here. You can click on browse to select a different recording path if you want to. So for recording quality, usually I leave it as default, but if you want a higher quality or a lower quality, you can select it here. Okay, for recording format, it's default to be MKV, and I usually like to leave it as MKV. You have the option of selecting MP4 as well. But what's the difference between MKV and MP4? MKV captures a slightly higher quality file, but the file size is usually much larger than MP4. And for a lot of video editing software, they can't really read MKV files and they can only read MP4 files. But the good thing about MKV files is that it is continuous recording, which means that during your live stream, say for example, at 15th minute, your live stream crashes and your computer crashes, but you will be able to save the recorded file up to the 15th minute. But if you select MP4 and your computer crashes, you will not be able to retrieve any of the file. So right now we're just going to leave it as MKV. But again, there's an option within OBS itself to convert from MKV to MP4, and I'm going to show that to you later. So we're just going to click OK. So right now, with everything in place, we're just going to click on Start Recording. As you can see at the bottom here, the recording rate button, there's a timer, and it shows you how long your recording has started for. And then if you want to pause your recording, you can click on the pause button here, and then the CPU usage. For usual recordings onto your local hard disk, the CPU usage is usually a little bit low. But if you're going to go live streaming, the CPU usage is going to increase. Alright, so you're just going to stop recording for now, and then we can check the recording. So how do we do that? Click on File, and then click on Show Recordings. And you can see that the file here, and let's play it to see how it works. As you can see at the bottom here, the recording rate button is a timer, and it shows you how long your recording has started for. Not too bad, right? Yep. Remember earlier I mentioned how you can convert your MKV file to your MP4 file easily using OBS. So click on File and select Remarks Recordings. Then select your file here. And select your target file where you want to place it and click on Remarks. Done. That's fast. So let's take a look at the new recording in MP4 as we can see here. As you can see at the bottom here, the recording rate button is a timer, and it shows you how long your recording has started for. So now we have both the MKV file and the MP4 file residing in our hard disk. Okay, so a quick recap. We have gone through how to do a video recording scene, which is to capture your video recording device from your laptop camera under Sources, then make sure you have a sound, and then how to start recording to your computer. Easy, right? So right now I'm going to teach you how to do a more complex setup for your scenes, and this is more related to live streaming. So as you can see, we only did one scene for video recording, right? So we're going to add a new scene here that we're going to call live stream. And we're going to add a source, which is your video capture device, and I'm going to use my existing laptop's camera, and then resize it. Okay, so now I have resized it to what it's going to be like for live streaming, right? So I'm going to teach you how to add a logo at this corner here. So how do you do that? So click on the plus button and then click on image, and I'm going to name it as logo. So I can browse and search for my logo here and click OK. So now you can see that this transparent PNG layer of my logo is slapped right on top of my laptop camera source. So I have to resize it and then place it at the corner. Alright, so it looks good, right? Okay, so this is actually what I would call the default scene for my live stream. So anything that happens, I will come back to this scene. So right now I'm going to add another live stream scene, which is the lower third scene. A lot of live streams, especially corporate live streams, they include a lower third at the corner, right? When a guest speaker comes up. So instead of adding a new scene right now, because the scene is going to look exactly similar to my live stream scene, I'm just going to right click and then duplicate it. And then I'm going to call it lower thirds. Okay, so you can see that these two scenes are exactly the same because I have just done a duplication. So my lower thirds, I will have to add a lower third, right? So I will click on the plus button and click on image. And then I'm going to call it lower thirds. And then add the image. So you can see the lower third has appeared on the bottom left corner of my screen, right? And then lastly, I'm going to add another scene which is also very common for live streams, either for your weddings or corporate, which is called a super source, right? So I'm going to add a new scene and I call it super source. For this, I will have to input an image under my sources. So I'll click on the plus button and select image and I'll call it super source background. And then I'm going to look for the image and put it here. Okay, so you can see this is the template which is typical for a super source. And then, but there are two empty holes there, right? So what do I have to do? You got it? So I will have to add a video capture device as well, which I will add from my existing laptop camera. So now you see my image appearing on the super source, but this layout doesn't look that right, correct? So I will have to resize myself to fit the hole here. And then as you can see, there are empty spaces on my left and right. So I will have to crop the image. So how do I crop the image? Click on option and then I can drag it closer. And for the left side as well. Now it looks pretty correct, right? But still it is not right because as you can see from my sources layering, the laptop camera is on top of my super source background. I will have to put it under the super source background. So how do I do that? It's either I can drag it down or I can click on the laptop camera source and I put it down. Now you can see that it is properly framed up nicely for myself to appear here. So similarly, I want to add another source for my guest on my left, and then I will have to add the source here, and then he will appear here. So, okay, it's pretty clean now and pretty simple. I hope that by now you have a pretty good idea of how scenes come about and how sources add variety and customization to the different scenes. So right now, I'm going to do a simple example. Alright, so this is my live stream. So what typically happens for live stream is something we would use called a studio mode. Okay, so I'm going to click on studio mode here. So right now you see two scenes, right? One is on the left and one is on the right. So what happens on the left side is called a preview. So you can do a lot of testing, you can do a lot of moving of the scenes here, but it does not affect what happens on the right, which is the program view. So program view is actually the live view which goes on live to your Facebook Live, YouTube Live or your Twitch. And this is the one that your online audience will see. So in a nutshell, preview is something like a behind the scenes. Okay, so right now I'm going to do a real life example of how a live stream, typical live stream works, okay? Based on the three scenes that we have created, the three simple scenes. So these scenes, I will be interchanging them one by one. And then I will be using the transition here, as you can see. So for transition, you actually have a few options. You can do a cut transition, fade transition, or slide transition. And you can change your transition time from 300 milliseconds. You can either change it to 250 or more. We will just leave it for 300 for now. Alright, so with everything in place, this is how typically you will go on to a live stream when you go live. Alright, so let me just test it out for you to see. Hi everybody, good morning. Welcome to my live stream. And then I prepare this lower third here. And then I do a transition when I say, welcome everybody. My name is Steph and I'm a YouTuber. Right? And then once I'm done, I transit it back to my live stream scene. See? At this side. Right? Today we have an online guest coming on all the way from America, and without further ado, let's introduce him over. He is Mr. X. So at this moment, I've already prepared the super source scene on my preview, and then I will transit it over, and then I can start talking to my guests, blah 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 blah. Thank you all so much for coming on to my talk show. I'll see you in a month's time. And then I will transit back to this scene. Simple, right? We have pretty much covered everything from switching between scenes, and I hope by now you have a really clear idea of how these scenes work and how sources work, how your audio mixer work together with your scene transitions. And lastly, before we end this, of course you have to know how to start streaming, right? So this is the part where you're going to go live and start streaming. So you have to go to settings and then go to stream. Under service, you have the different services that you can select, either Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook Live. And then key in your information, connect your account, put in your stream key. And then once you are ready, you can start streaming. I hope this was easy for you to understand, and hopefully the step-by-step guide has allowed you to have a very clear understanding of how OBS works and how easy it works and how customizable it is for your live stream. So there you have it. I hope today's video was easy and it was a great insight to how you can learn to use OBS easily and utilize its functions to enhance your production. The one great thing about OBS is that it is so customizable that you can set it up to your own requirements. Even for live streaming, there are a million ways to do it, and having this customization on the OBS Studio interface allows each and every one of you, including myself, to be able to tailor it to our needs. If you like today's video, do give a thumbs up, or if you have any comments, do let me know below. Do subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and until the next video, I'm Steph. Take care and bye-bye.